Today we'll cover the topic disease management and three methods of disease management that we'll look at are quarantine, genetically modified foods and immunisation. Disease management is a system of healthcare interventions which aim to manage and prevent diseases. Previously the course of action was to let the disease develop and then it was treated and controlled. The emphasis for disease management today is to move away from treatment and control to management and prevention of the disease occurring. When referring to quarantine as a method of treatment and control to managing or preventing disease, it is important to understand that quarantine segregates and restricts the movement of possible diseased individuals, whereas isolation separates those who are sick from others and who are not. The bubonic plague of the 14th century is a significant example of what occurs if an introduced disease isn't controlled nor managed. In regards to plant diseases, there are a list of plants known to affect Australia's biodiversity. Example, the exotic fruit flies have the potential to damaging agriculture and food commodities. The shift in emphasis of quarantine is stated within the 2014 quarantine targets legislation, which have changed from a directed intervention to a targeted approach to eradicate any risk of disease through risk assessments and the use of quarantine within Australia. The role and importance of quarantine within Australia is evident in the Ebola virus disease outbreak, where quarantine-enabled hospitals were of use to controlling and managing the outbreak. In response to the EVD outbreak, isolation units known as isopods were introduced to transport possible and affected individuals as well as controlling and managing the disease. Here is an example of an isopod.
Genetically modified foods. GM foods are organisms, both plant and animal, which their genetic material has been changed in a way that isn't natural. Now, foods have been manipulated by man for numerous generations. For example, crossbreeding and selective breeding. This has allowed for desired traits to be accomplished, such as a higher yield for crops or the amount of meat on an animal. Now, technology has allowed for this progress to occur over the years, and it is much more advanced than it was beforehand. Previous methods for dealing with pests and diseases have been using chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Now, with the enhancement of technology, scientists are now able to transfer genes between species which can aid in the management and the prevention of pests and diseases. Now, GM foods are created by a way of cut and paste. The desired gene from one organism is identified, then it's cut out, transferred to the desired plant and placed into its genome. Now, as you can see behind me is a GM crop of sugarcane. Now, this is an Australian example. Now, losses have been experienced due to the diseases and weeds in ordinary sugarcane. Now, the GM sugarcane is resistant to pathogens such as viruses, bacteria and fungal diseases. It also has a tolerance to herbicides, which allows weeds to be controlled within the crop. And also, this gives the farmer who is using the GM sugarcane to produce higher quality crops and have a larger income due to this.
Immunisation is the injection of a weak or dead version of a disease into the body to build resistance against it. When a disease is injected, the immune defence mechanism of the body will fight against it, and hence will remember it when or if it shall come back. This type of management only occurs in animals, and is generally called a vaccination. There are two reasons for vaccinating: preventing the disease from coming into the body and preventing the disease from spreading from person to person. Before the discovery of immunisation, disease was widespread, and many were considered pandemics. Lots of children were susceptible to disease due to their immune systems being immature. Therefore, it is important to vaccinate children and animals in early life to build up this defence. However, the problem is that vaccinations are controversial. Many believe that you can contract the disease from being immunised due to the vaccine not being foolproof. Immunisation has led to the eradication of disease in certain populations in the world. For example, polio and smallpox are two diseases that have been eradicated from Australia. So today we have looked at disease management and the emphasis in the shift to manage and preventing diseases. The three examples we have looked at are quarantine, genetically modified foods, and immunisation.